A crashed, written-off car is very often worth more broken than it ever was whole. The engine, the doors, the lights, the gearbox, each one wanted by somebody trying to keep the exact same model on the road. Sold separately, the pieces beat the price of the whole car. The insurer saw a write-off. A scrapyard sees a shelf of stock. Hold on to that, because it turns everything you assumed about scrap on its head. Because a scrapyard does not really buy a car. It buys the same car several times over. Once as a set of working parts, once as a small box of precious metals hidden underneath, and once, finally, as a shell of steel sold by the ton. The wreck that rolls in for a few pounds leaves again in a dozen directions, and every direction carries its own price. You are not scrapping a car, you are unbundling it. Start with the parts, because that is where most of the money quietly lives, and it is the opposite of what the word scrapyard suggests. Scrap sounds like rubbish, it sounds like the end, but a modern breaker's yard is closer to a shop than a dump, and its shelves are stocked by other people's accidents. When a car is written off, an insurer is not saying the car is worthless. It is saying the car is not worth repairing, for them, given what a repair would cost against the value of the whole. Those are very different statements, because a car that is uneconomical to fix is still full of parts that work perfectly. So, the yard buys the wreck cheaply, and then it does the thing the insurer could not be bothered to do. It takes the car apart, carefully, and turns one dead vehicle into a catalogue. A wing mirror for a model that stopped being made a decade ago, a headlight unit for a car whose owner cannot find one anywhere new, an alternator, a door, a seat, a wiring loom, an entire engine. Each one is common as mud when the car is whole, and surprisingly scarce the moment somebody actually needs that exact piece for that exact model. And scarcity is the whole game. The person who needs a discontinued part is not shopping around on price. They are relieved you have it at all, and a part that cost the yard almost nothing, pulled from a wreck, can sell for real money to the one person in the country desperate for it that week. That is the first business, not scrap, but a parts shop, stocked by write-offs, priced by scarcity. But here is the part almost nobody knows about, and it sits underneath the car, quietly, on nearly every vehicle on the road. Somewhere beneath the floor, in the exhaust system, is a small metal box that the owner has never once thought about. It is called a catalytic converter, and it is often the single most valuable component on the entire vehicle. Not the engine, not the wheels, but that small, dull box. The reason is what is sealed inside it. To do its job cleaning the exhaust gases, a catalytic converter contains tiny amounts of some of the rarest metals on Earth, precious metals that, gram for gram, have at times traded higher than gold. There is only a little in each one, but a yard is not handling one. It is handling hundreds, and hundreds of little becomes a lot. So, a scrapyard is, in part, quietly in the precious metals business, extracting a few grams of something extraordinarily valuable from a box most drivers do not know exists. And this is why the yard cares about things that look like nothing to you. Two identical looking wrecks can be worth very different amounts, and not because of the bodywork or the mileage. It can come down to what is in that box underneath, which varies by engine, by age, by model. A yard that knows exactly which cars carry the richest converters is not guessing. It is reading value in a place the rest of us cannot even see. And the knowledge of what sits under the floor is, itself, part of the asset. The most precious thing on your car was the one part you never looked at. And only now, after the parts are stripped and the valuable box is gone, does the thing you actually picture when you hear the word scrapyard finally happen, the crusher. What is left is a shell, a stripped, gutted body of steel and aluminium, no longer a car, just material. And that material is sold the simplest way of all, by weight. But here is the sting in it. The price of that weight is not set in the yard. It is set on a global market for metal, a market the owner of a yard in a small town has never seen and cannot move by a single inch. Steel and aluminium prices rise and fall on demand from enormous economies on the other side of the world. So the final value of every crushed car depends on something happening thousands of miles away. In industries the yard has no connection to. A good month and a bad month can be decided by a factory boom or a slump in a country the yard owner will never visit. You crush the car here, someone else, somewhere else, decides what it is worth. That is the strange shape of the whole business. The parts, where the margin is, depend on scarcity and luck, on happening to hold the exact piece someone needs. The metal, where the volume is, depends on a world price you cannot control. And the yard sits in the middle, buying dead cars by the pound and hoping the pieces, added up every possible way, come to more than it paid. So consider what a scrapyard actually is. It is not a dump. It is a parts shop, a small precious metals operation, and a bet on global commodity prices, all stacked on top of each other, all fed by the same steady supply of other people's write-offs. So if you decide to buy a scrapyard, understand what you are actually buying. You are not buying a pile of dead cars. You are buying the right to unbundle them, to sell the working parts to people who cannot find them anywhere else, to pull a few grams of precious metal from a box nobody notices, and to sell what is left by the tonne, at a price the world sets for you. The crushing was never the business. It was only ever the last and smallest way to sell the car. What you are really paying for is the parts nobody else stocks, the metal nobody else noticed, and a very long queue of cars the road keeps writing off.